See? And that's as simple as that. So we are live, guys. Hey, I am Natalie Diaz with Twiniversity, and we are here with Allie, one of our new moms that we are going to get to follow along her journey and learn all about everything that's happening. And like I told you, Allie, this is the way that this happens every single time. So we are live. There you go. Now that's done. Now it caught up with us. So we are on like a 2-second delay. So if you were watching the comments yourself, Allie, you might see that they might be not in sync with us, or your hands might not be in sync. But anyway, guys, I'm Nat. We're here, and Betty too is joining us today. She's going to be cleaning her feet for the entire thing. I also realized you could see my shoes. I try to clean my house, Allie, before we always start, because I'm like, is everybody looking at the stuff on the desk behind me? That's my husband's desk, and so we have like these desks that close so that we don't have to see the mess when we're not using them. This is our secret. So hi, officially.
Hi.
Betty says hi. She's going to now stand like this. This is her other thing. Sometimes she just stands like this for a while.
She's so cute. I love it.
You have puppies too, right?
Yes, I have two, and they like sleep all day long. I don't know how if they don't get their naps all day long, then they get really like cranky. So
that's funny. Have they been around other kids?
I have. Have they been around?
The dogs, have the dogs been around babies before?
Yeah. So my brother has 2 kids. And so, when I got my first dog, he wasn't around kids at all. So he didn't really like kids. And then once my brother brought his first baby into the family, then Miles got really comfortable. And then the second baby, now Miles loves kids. He's almost obsessed with kids. So we'll see how this goes.
Oh, that's so sweet. All right. So how many weeks pregnant are you?
So I'm 16 weeks pregnant.
I love it. Yeah. Oh my gosh. What week did you find out you were having twins?
It wasn't until our 8-week appointment.
Okay.
I think that's when, we went in and we were just really nervous, expecting to see how it is. I was really nervous it was going to be like in a tube or something like that, just because I had heard that so commonly. And so I'm like, please just be in there. And then right away, I was like, yep, there's twins.
Oh my gosh.
Just in their own sacks, and you could totally tell there was no denying. So
oh my gosh, they're like little lima beans but tinier. They're so small. So are these, this is what I said, if it's off the table, are they spontaneous twins? Did you have twins in your family? How did we get to twins? Is it a surprise to everybody?
No, not at all. So we had been trying for a really long time, and I had thyroid issues, which I did not know that can cause, infertility or struggles with pregnancy. And I didn't really know until probably a year and a half after trying that my thyroid was so out of whack, or about, I would say, a year into it. Okay. And so I got tested for that, and I started getting my thyroid under control. And I had an OB that specialized in thyroid, and she says, before we start infertility testing, I put everybody on Clomid. She goes, I put them on for 3 months, and if nothing happens, then you start the infertility testing process. Okay. And so we were on it for 2 months. I was also doing acupuncture and Chinese herbs, things like that. Okay. And my acupuncturist thought that, our problem wasn't conception, our problem wasn't ovulation, our problem was more implantation. Okay. So once we got kind of my uterine lining all nice and ready to go for a baby, month 2 of Clomid, we got pregnant. And so I really think that, your chances with Clomid aren't huge, but they definitely release more eggs if you're already ovulating. Absolutely. And I think ovulation wasn't my problem. So I think they're Clomid twins. That's kind of what.
But we never really know. We can't really know for sure. So that's great though. If if you were worried and struggling and whatever, it is nice to kind of have 2 at a time, I suppose. Yeah. I don't know if normal people would say that, I think, because that's I'm constantly around twins now. But before I had twins, the only other twins that I really had that I knew were twins in high school. Mm-hmm. So there was these 2 sisters in high school, which I'm still friends with, which I love that to death. But yeah, do you have friends with twins, or do you know anybody out in your neck of the woods that has twins?
So in our town, I live in a small town. We grew up with a ton of twins. So I grew up with twins.
Okay.
And I'm just now, it's funny. So I live in a town in rural Wyoming of about 7,000 people. And everyone reaches out to me on the daily trying to get me in touch with twin moms in the area. And
Right.
so I've had like 10 people try and get me in touch with this one twin mom that has 6-month-old twins. So luckily, even though I'm in such a small area, the twin families in this town, they all like really bond together. And so
Yeah.
it's been really nice. And I live kind of close to Jackson Hole, and
Okay.
they've got a huge twin community there. So it's nice to be able to kind of plug into those.
Oh my gosh, that's so perfect. Yeah. So even though you might be out of a big city, there's still, I find that with twin moms in general, like it's one of those things that it really is a very strong community, like clearly, right? Like I started this whole thing of Twiniversity based on it because here in New York, even though it's this giant city, our twin community is ridiculously strong. Like we have a very large, twin club, which is just a support network that was vital to the early time when I was expecting. And then I kind of saw what we had here. And then I realized not everybody knows that they have one or not everybody has one. And also so many people move. Like there were so many military families that were having twins. So even if you lived, in Wyoming and then had to be transferred down to North Carolina, I wanted there to kind of be a constant twin connection. So that's kind of where we came to be. But I do have twins and my twins are actually going to be 13 on Friday. Not Friday, Saturday. I'm lying to you. So it's Saturday. I feel like it's Friday because we're celebrating on Friday.
Yeah.
But my kids are super old now. I never, ever, ever, ever thought that I would even have like 3-year-old children. Like it's so funny because when I was expecting, I could remember that like if you met somebody that had 3-year-old twins, you're like, I can't even like fathom this. So I can't even imagine how you feel about me having 13-year-olds. Like that's like a light year away. It's not even really 13 years. It's hundreds of years away from where it is. It does feel like that though. It does feel like 100 years ago when they were born. But at the same time, I think just because of what I do, it doesn't really feel that long ago. And also like my kids know more about their birth, delivery, and, first 3 years experience than any other child I have ever met. But considering that I teach live, I teach Twiniversity classes, and I usually teach them right from here, sitting in this very seat for our online classes. And so they kind of listen in. So if I'm talking about like placenta or delivery day or, delayed cord blood clamping or whatever it is, like my kids are like, what does that mean? Like my kids know what a flange is on a breast pump. And I think that that's crazy cool. So I hope that your kids are as cool with things that really happen. Like there's no shame in it. I feel bad, but it's just kind of crazy. But yeah, so that's my crazy 20s. And so now tell me, so for 16 weeks, you have these 2 little parasites living inside of you, right? That are eating you live. Do you feel any different or what changes are you noticing?
I will be honest, like for the first couple months, I didn't even feel like I was pregnant. I was really tired. So I knew that was probably the first indicator that I was. And being in tune with your body, obviously you can tell that things are different. And I was, nauseous and things, but when you can't feel them, and I still haven't even really felt them moving yet. I felt flutters ish, maybe could be them, but being a new mom, I have no idea if I'm experiencing that or if it's something totally different. So I didn't really even feel that pregnant. I'm starting to feel now that the bump has arrived and I'm feeling more and more like, okay, they're in there. Like, cause every day I'd be like, are they still in there? Would I know if they're not? And then when we found out we were having twins, I was shocked because I thought all of my symptoms would have been crazier than a lot of my friends around me that are pregnant right now with singletons. And they were having kind of crazier symptoms than I was at the time. So it was a huge shock to me because I'm like, there's no way I'm having twins. I'm not sick enough or I'm not tired enough or this or that. And so, it was kind of a surprise there, but I definitely feel it now.
Okay.
A little bit more pregnant.
But you haven't felt the move yet. You will soon. I mean, if you haven't by 16 weeks, I would say like within the next 3 weeks at least. You'll be like, oh, what's that? It feels like mice running under your skin. It's a
I love it.
feeling. You're like, that is super weird. It's that, especially when they're little, as they get bigger, they're no longer mice. They're like sledgehammers that are trying to get out, is how that goes. But in the beginning, it's such like a wonderful fluttery feeling. And I'm excited when that happens for you for the first time. Are you keeping like a pregnancy journal of like, on this day, I ate cantaloupe and I felt this? Like, are you keeping really meticulous notes of your pregnancy?
You know, I journaled a lot leading up to getting pregnant, and kind of created a journal for my future baby, just talking about like introducing them to their dad, just like at this point in my life, because I do love journaling because it really shows a little insight. I would love to know what my mom felt like when she was first pregnant, you know, reading her journal. So I wanted to do that. I will tell you, it got discouraging along the way when every entry I'm like, still not here, hoping you show up soon. And I mean, we were even like about to go down the adoption route and stuff. So it's definitely something that I was documenting along that process. I do probably journal every couple weeks and touch base. And I'm like, you guys are this size now, and that's really crazy and stuff like that. But I don't daily. I have not been tracking daily. Like
a lot daily. Daily's a lot. There's this great website called Tiny Beans. Okay. And Tiny Beans is like an online journal that you could use, and you could share like your sonogram pictures and have like a whole basic little group of people you could share stuff with. That's a really cool thing. You know, and if you get started with something like that now, it's going to be easier once the 20s are here and you want your family to see these pictures. And so that's something to look into for journaling if you want to kind of keep track of everything in one place, not on paper. Because while paper is fantastic, and I do love paper because I'm a paper person, but I wish that I would have like scanned more sonograms and things like that. Because now, I mean, I know exactly where my pregnancy journal is. I actually keep it handy because I reference it a lot for like if I'm speaking to a mom and she's like, you know, I felt this way, and I go back and I'm like, what did I feel that day? Like, let me see, what did I feel that week? I didn't really keep meticulous notes either, but if you keep a paper copy and then even scan it or take a picture of the journal page that you were writing and then maybe store it on like Snapfish or Tiny Beans or something, so you could have it in the cloud, right? And then it lives forever in addition to your paper. Because it's fun. It's just fun, even on like their first birthday, to go back and think of this day. Betty Lou's got something to say. Bex. She really seems tough. She's like the worst guard dog. Betty! I'm sorry, Allie.
Oh, no, that's good. I can hear my dogs retaliating.
Responding. That's it.
Hey, who is that?
She loves me. Betty! Bex, come on. Come over here. Come here. What's the matter? All right, calm down, girl. Calm down. That's that. So yeah, so that would be one thing that I wish that I would have done. And I always encourage our twiniversity families to. Now, how are your doctor's appointments going? Like, how's your OB? Tell us about like your OB and like the visits that you've been having so far.
So living in a rural state is a little bit hard. You don't have a lot of options. Luckily, we have an amazing OB here. His name is Dr. Siegersma, and he works with a midwife. They work kind of together, and she jokes, she's like, he's the most midwifey OB I've ever met, which is exciting to me because I kind of wanted to go the midwife route, and then finding out you're having twins, it's a little bit scarier to go that route. So she hopefully is going to be involved in the process. I don't think she's delivered twins, or she's been in on a couple, so it's still kind of new to her with that. But yeah, he's great. Appointments have been going really, really well. I think we have one tomorrow, and that will just measure the heartbeats, and then we have our 20 week in January in Jackson, and that will be really nice to get to see them, how they're doing, all of that stuff. But probably my favorite appointment was the last appointment, I think at 12 weeks. And that's when you got to see them just like wiggling around, sucking their thumbs. Like they were just so cute. They had little personalities. I'm like, how is this at 12 weeks? It was insane to see just how much they had progressed from the 8-week appointment. And so I'm so excited to see them again. That's the nice thing about twin pregnancy. You get to see them a lot more by doing ultrasound. So it's we really get to learn their personality.
Yes, and make sure also that you should, if you can, videotape those sonograms too. So when you see them wiggling, you don't just have the paper copy of it when they leave. Like have little video snippets of it. And you could even
So I got a snippet of the last appointment. They were kind of funny. They were like, oh, we don't want you, because we got to see him for probably 20 minutes wiggling around, but she let me do a minute and watch that video all the time because it's just so cute. They're just
you know what? There's really no reason for them not to let you do that. It's something that weird. I don't understand what the reasoning is. I almost feel like maybe it's litigation or something that they didn't see something. But if you like, when you go get like a mammogram, they give you a copy of everything from now. Why are you growling? Be quiet, please. And for the sonograms, they never let you do, and I can never understand why. So I don't believe that there is a legal reason that they could prohibit you from doing it. You don't want to make an enemy with your midwife, clearly, but at the same time be like, but what's the reasoning? Like this, it brings me so much joy, you know, for the time, from the times that I see you to the next time that I see you, it comforts me and gives me joy. Like, why wouldn't you let me have this? So I'm always curious to know, like, what a doctor's or a midwife, I feel you might have a better shot with. She may let you do it more. Also, I'm curious if they're going to let the midwife deliver you.
So I know I had asked her that too at our last appointment, and she said that there's a lot of other twin moms that are pregnant that are due before I am. And so she's like, I'm trying to get as much experience with them. I know the other twin mom that's 6 months or has 6-month-old twins. She had a C-section, and so the midwife didn't participate in that at all. But I keep telling her, I'm like, I really hope you're in town because I want her to be there for it. And she said that she's going to try and be at the other ones to gain more experience with that. But she's like really happy that Dr. Seversma is a part of the process because she's like, I've seen him do some crazy deliveries with twins, so I feel like you're in great hands with him.
Oh, that's so great.
So yeah.
That's so great. Does he have a good track record of a vaginal delivery with twins, or?
He does. When that was the thing. When we first found out we were having twins at that 8-week appointment, I was so excited, like instantly, like, oh my gosh, we're having two. And then we went into so we have a ultrasound tech that does it in a totally different room. And then she brings all the results to the doctor or to the OB and the midwife to look over. And so when we came in to talk to him, he was really like, it's high risk. You're having twins. You could be delivering in Denver or Salt Lake or Billings. We need to get you with a specialist. And so like all of a sudden I felt like a weight on my shoulders, like, oh my gosh, twins are a way bigger deal than I ever anticipated. And so I asked him, he kept saying over and over, you know, you might have to deliver elsewhere. These are the things that might lead to that, and just really prepping you.
Yeah.
So then I asked him, I'm like, have you delivered twins here in Lander, which is our small little town? He's like, oh yeah, all the time. So I'm like, why didn't you lead with that? Because you're freaking me out. I feel like I'm going to be totally away from home automatically. And so he has had some really good experiences with the vaginal deliveries.
Good.
Where, you know, the second one was breech and he had to extract them and things like that. So I feel like from the stories I've heard that he is very, very capable, which is nice.
Well, the odds of you, like, there's a lot of people who go to high risk doctors, like just as, you know, a matter of course with a twin pregnancy, but certainly not everybody does. I think it's not even, a lot of people think that it depends on age, but it really doesn't. You could be super young and go to a high risk doctor. There's a million factors that would determine that. But I'm glad, like that's also another thing that frustrates me is that doctors never lead with the positive. But I feel like they're always covering their ass, and they're just like, oh, I have to tell you this, and here's, you know, the disclaimer, but everything's going to be fine anyway. But I just feel like I have to tell you that. Why do they do that? It makes me crazy. We left our first OB because of that, because he only led with the negative. And I left the appointment and I was crying. I'm like, oh, I'm never going to make it. I'm going to die. It was horrible. And my husband's like, we're never going back there. I really don't care. So we went to a totally different doctor at a totally different hospital. And in his practice, so it's just him and the midwife, right? There's not a bunch of other doctors?
He is part of, well, there are other doctors there. They're not OB. So he's the OB section of a clinic.
Okay.
So there's, I mean, like internal medicine and family medicine. Things like
but he's the only guy that would deliver you. It's not like there's 4 OBs that could potentially be there.
In the small town, you have the chance that if your OB is out of town, they go to the next OB in town. and he delivered my sister-in-law's first baby, and he's not ideal. So that's the scary thing, is that Siebersma is amazing. This other doctor, I've just heard a lot of bad experiences with him. Not necessarily, he's good at what he does.
Yeah.
Horrible bedside manner, and doesn't really listen to the patients. He kind of just goes his own route. So, and he's really into episiotomies. Like every patient gets an episiotomy, and my sister-in-law had no idea that was, that.
Oh, you froze on me, Allie. Maybe I froze on me. I don't know. Sorry, you're freezing on me.
I mean, he just did it automatically.
Okay. Hang on, guys. We're having a technical okay, could you see me now?
Yeah. Can you see me?
On me. So hold on. I want to hear what you said. You were saying that your sister's doctor just does like auto episiotomy. Like that's just what so, by the way, so 70s, 60s, 70s. It's nuts.
He does them all the time. And then when she went to Dr. Siebersma for her second pregnancy, he was like, I think I did one episiotomy in my whole career. And he's like, that is not something that I do unless it is really a severe case where I would need to. So that was hard for her to hear, because in the moment with the first doctor, you're like, okay, do what you got to do.
Yes.
And then later when you hear that, because that she said was the worst to heal from, more so than the second pregnancy tearing and still getting stitched up, but it was a completely different thing. So that's one of my big fears, is that my doc will be out of town and then here comes Dr. Episiotomy.
I can't believe that there's still a Dr. Episiotomy out there. It just makes it quicker. Like it does. It clearly does, because you made the opening to larger. So of course it's going to be faster, but there's no need for it. Like we got time. We got like super, super duper time. Oh man. All right. I'm hoping for you. Now, what if you were in Jackson Hole having dinner and you went into labor? Would you drive back to where you are, or would you just go to a hospital in Jackson Hole?
So we're doing our specialist appointment in Jackson Hole, but he comes from Utah. So our specialist doesn't reside. I know. This is,
oh my gosh.
Really, trust me, it's not as easy as in the city where you can just bop around and check out which doctor you like. I mean, you're really stuck with what you get. But he comes from Utah, the University of Utah. And so we're going to have that appointment. The chances of him being there, if I were in Jackson and went into labor, I think pretty much in this area, you have to get LifeFlighted. I mean, anytime anything happens where the local staff can't handle, and especially so if I were in Jackson, you know, after 24 weeks when they're viable, but they're going to be preemie, they're going to be in a NICU, things like that, they would have to LifeFlight me to a bigger facility, either in Billings, Salt Lake, which I would go to Salt Lake because that's where I'll establish a relationship with a specialist, but you'd have to be LifeFlighted because they really can't handle preemies in pretty much in Wyoming. There's really not a lot of facilities that can handle that.
In Wyoming, period, the end.
Yeah.
Really?
Not crazy. We always, if people get like anything, so my nephew, he had a hernia and I think he was only a year at the time when he had his first hernia. He had to get LifeFlighted to Denver to get surgery on that.
And how long is the flight though? Is it?
I mean, when they LifeFlight, it's a bit faster. I think it's like 45 minutes. So maybe a little bit longer. I mean, they pretty much cruise when they go, but yeah, you're still like stuck in the air in an emergency situation. It's pretty crazy.
But they have great people on those planes though.
They do.
I still worry about it, but I do feel secure knowing, because it's not like here, as crazy as it is for 45 minutes for us, there are other countries that I have visited that like there is no 45-minute flight. We're just like walking to somebody's house that hopefully knows something about something. So yes, we're still lucky. Let's count our blessings that we could still have these options. I don't want to have to go to Dr. Episiotomy though. I don't want to.
That's the other crazy thing is like, there's always so much fear around pregnancy. And I'm like, people do it out in a tent in the like desert and they're fine. Why? I mean, obviously we are having babies that come a lot earlier and that wouldn't have made it and things like that. But it's just, there's so much fear around it. And it's like,
it's scary. It really is.
It's not freak out.
It's like, I tell all Twiniversity students, we are not the first person to have twins. We are not the last person that's going to have twins. It's just, we know more. as expecting families. So that's where kind of the fear comes into, because when like your grandmother, if she was expecting twins, regardless of the neighborhood, you were expecting twins, the end of story. There was no like, you didn't even know Dr. Episiotomy existed because that was just the way that it went. It's like now that we know, oh, well, we know so much about micropreemies, and we know so much about, you know, whether it's gestational diabetes or preeclampsia or anything else that we get. But the chances aren't greater now than they were before. We just know more about these things now. So twin pregnancies have been pretty constant, that we have the same issues that have been happening since the dawn of time. Like, we do have a higher risk of preeclampsia, but that's not in 2017. That's been since like, you know, year 7. We've always had that. It hasn't changed. It's just scarier because we know so much, but you can't really think about that. And as much as like the things that you can prepare for are the things that you actually have control over. You do not really have control over your pregnancy. The things that you have control over are taking care of yourself and drinking enough water and resting. Those you you should worry about, because those are things that you can do. Or like preparing your house, or getting the puppies ready for the arrival of the babies, or figuring out space planning in your home, or, you know, how your new tires on your car so you could drive safer this winter. Like anything you can control. But I would really, like, it drives me crazy when people start midnight Googling, is what I call it. It's like they're Googling shit in the middle of the night. That's like, don't freaking read anything out there. Like, if you have a pain, call your doctor and say, you know what, I have this cramp on my right side. Here's what it is. What do you think it is? Let like an actual medical professional diagnose you instead of Dr. Google, who can't see the whole thing. So I'm glad that at least you realize that, because you're really far ahead of other people in that regard, because everyone starts Googling this shit. It's too scary.
But the thing is, like, you realize it, but it still affects you. It's so weird, because I mean, every story that comes across Facebook that's like, these babies were born with tails, I'm like, my babies are going to have tails. Like, I mean, it's crazy, because rationally, I know that the chances are super slim, but the more I hear about those things, the more I'm like, oh my gosh, my baby's probably gonna have that. And then with twins, you're double worried, because you're like, well, now I have more of a chance because there's 2 in there. So it's kind of funny that way.
I hear you, and I know it's so much easier said than done, but like, if I never want, I really wish that we could take the fear out of your pregnancy, because you don't enjoy it. I want you to like remember the wiggly sonogram, and I want you to remember that first flutter, and I want you to even remember how tired you were. I don't want you to remember how scared you were or how nervous you were. And there's this whole study that was done, which it's one of the most fascinating things that I've ever known about. And there was this study that was done with Alzheimer's patients, and an Alzheimer's patient could be speaking to her daughter, and she might not know who her daughter is, but she's able to tell her daughter the entire story of the day she was born and about her pregnancy. There's something about the time that you're expecting, and I have chills even thinking about it now, but the time that you're expecting and the time that you deliver, it really gets imprinted on your brain. So instead of making fear be the thing that gets imprinted, make it be like hope and excitement and joy. And so if you do feel the fear, just try to toss it aside, or truthfully, if you really think that this is something that might happen, email it to your doctor or send it to me. Like, email me and say, Nat, what do you think about this? And I'll be like, Allie, you must be high right now.
You're freaking out for no reason. I know.
Yeah, like, you gotta get off the ledge. But sometimes I'll be like, hey, you know what? That is a viable concern, but here's what we can do about it. Here's how we could control this. So I am here. I'm never going to go anywhere. I hope that you let us track you through your whole pregnancy. I was going to say tell you, but then I thought that would be in poor taste, things about the babies with the tails. So I chose different words, but then still told you what I was thinking. But yeah, I think that it's funny. And so it's like 16 weeks, you're already starting to get concerned about this. And don't even think about it. Play with the dogs, enjoy the time with your husband, because it is never going to be this quiet in your house again.
Yeah,
like, that's it. You got a few months ahead of you of joy, and the fact that you're not vomiting all over the place, and that you like have color in your face and you look good and you curled your hair. Like that's such a positive thing. It's really good that Julie has curl envy of you. Now Baby's gonna moo. See, well, your dogs barked because they heard me. My dog moos.
Aww.
I don't know what is up with her.
I love your dog.
She only does this during FaceTime. Like she never does this. Like I could be sitting here, she won't do it. So yeah, so now for your next doctor's appointment you have coming up, you still have one before your big sonogram, right?
Yeah, so tomorrow we go in. And I think they're just going to listen on the Doppler. I had a question about that. Our friend sent us a little Doppler. I read, you wouldn't use it?
No.
Is it bad for you? Because we hear the
It's
heartbeat.
not bad for you. It's not bad for you, but what is bad for you is that if somebody's hiding and you can't find his heartbeat and then you have a nervous breakdown. That's what's bad for you. It's not listening to them. The Doppler isn't going to cause any damage to the babies whatsoever. It's the what if I don't hear something, I'm going to assume that everybody's dead and what am I going to do?
That's true.
That's the part that's bad for you. So all of those things, like I feel like the Doppler, if you find great comfort in it and you've mastered the art of using the Doppler, then go for it. But I would not, like, let's say somebody wasn't moving, I wouldn't use the Doppler to try to find them, because if they're moving, sometimes they're lodged under your ribs, sometimes they're hiding behind something. Like there's always some place that they are. So if that's the case, even if that is the case, let's say, and you use the Doppler and you found the heartbeats, truth be told, and this is going to even make you scared or make you happy, how do you know you didn't hear the same heartbeat twice?
Yeah. You can kind of tell a difference.
You can kind of tell a difference because they use, but sometimes, especially, well, you know you're not having identicals. Sometimes they are in sync.
Yeah, that's true.
So if you didn't feel one moving and you heard one heartbeat and now they were in sync, so you thought it was the same heartbeat, you're going to lose your shit. You're going to be like, oh my God, that's it, it's over. And you're going to go crazy. But there's nothing to go crazy about because your grandma didn't have a Doppler, going back to our grandmas. Right?
No, they didn't have a Doppler. Yeah.
They didn't have anything. They didn't even have a stethoscope. They had like this weird horn thing that they would put against your belly. It was like nothing. It was crazy.
I love that they never knew they were having twins back then too.
Oh, it was a surprise.
Insane to just be like, oh, here comes baby number 2. Yeah.
I can't even. And so besides Twiniversity, I'm heavily involved in the twin community in general. And I meet so many people that have twins. Their twins are in their 60s. So they had kids 60 years ago. And it's so funny to say like what happened? And they're like, we didn't even know. Like we were just, we knew we were having a baby and we were bigger than our sister was when she was expecting. And then, the first baby came out, they're waiting to deliver the placenta, but then there's a head. And then you're like, surprise. So at least we get to prepare a little bit more than having a surprise baby at a hospital. But your midwife, I'm so super stoked for you because your midwife, like the whole midwifery experience is so different than like a conventional doctor or traditional doctor. So the fact that your doctor, by the way, the fact that he's open-minded enough to have a midwife in his practice speaks volumes of how awesome your doctor is. So I think it's fine. I wouldn't even think twice about it, but I would always know what's going to happen on backup, God forbid. But you're fine. You have so much time ahead of you. You're going to go to like 44 weeks. We've had people that go to 42. 42.
Yeah. My doctor said that they induce at 38 weeks.
You should induce.
Let you go to 40 weeks.
You shouldn't. But there's some moms who are like, I'm having a home birth and like this is where we're not going to have any traditional medicine in our home. Like they just go. But also sometimes if you've had like 6 kids, you might be able to go to 40 weeks with twins because your uterus is like stretched out like an old balloon. Not an old balloon, that's the worst, but a well-used balloon. How's that? Well worn. But it's going to be great. I did have a vaginal delivery, so just know that there is hope. I know plenty of people that do have vaginal deliveries. 76% of the moms that did have a vaginal delivery did have an epidural, but you certainly do not have to. But as your pregnancy, like as you get closer towards the end, we'll start talking about like creating birth plans and, do you have an epidural? Do you not? How do you know when you're going to need it? How to discuss with your husband to help you get that epidural or not get the epidural, like whatever. And I'm actually pretty crunchy. So, but I'm not like super crunchy. Like clearly if I had to have a C-section, I actually thought I was going to have a C-section. I never thought it was even possible to have a vaginal delivery, but I ended up having preeclampsia and then being induced at 34 weeks. And by the way, my kids were nice sizes at 34 weeks. So even 34 weeks, it's kind of like your first deadline that you got to meet is your 34-week deadline. And then anything after 34 weeks is kind of bonus. So you just got to get to 34 weeks. So the first real one is 24 weeks. So 24 weeks is a big, big week because then you are medically viable and they're going to do everything possible to save these puppies. And then after that, so 24, then 34, then 34 to 38. Those are like the big weeks in twin pregnancies, but there really is not a one size fits all. Can I ask you a very weird question? How tall are you?
I'm pretty short. I'm like 5'3", 5'4".
You're 5'3", 5'4". All right. So if I'm a betting woman, all right, and as a betting woman, I am going to predict safely that you will, if he lets you get to 38 weeks, you're getting to 38 weeks.
Really? You think so?
I'm telling you, I know it's not crazy. And if anybody's watching on Facebook now, if you could kind of debunk my theory on this. Allie, I meet a lot of twin parents, like thousands. Like I can't even begin to tell you how many twin moms I have met in my twin momming.
Yeah.
I find that the more petite a mom, the longer her pregnancy goes.
Interesting.
It's my weird study. There's no official study on this. And clearly I have no medical degree to start this, but it happens so often that it's no longer a coincidence.
Okay.
So like me, I'm almost 6 feet and I made it to 34. I don't know if it's because like your center of gravity is lower. So maybe everybody's more content and it's less strain on your body. I don't know. I don't really know. I can't figure this out, but if that could weirdly comfort you somehow, it should.
Yeah.
So I would like, if you said you were like 6'5", I would be like, all right, Ellie, let's make some plans for our, 34 to 36 weeks. But a tiny mama, I think you're good. We found out my daughter has officially stopped growing. Okay. We have her foot x-rayed. She had this pain. And so she's only going to be 5'1". And it's funny because to me, that's so tiny because I'm so giantess. And so is my husband. Like we're giant people. And her twin brother is probably going to be about 6'4". Like this kid grows like 2 inches every 6 months. He's in new shoes every 6 months. This, I don't even understand. She's tinier than an average 12-year-old right now in her class, right? Because she's still 12. We got a few more days. And he's like the size of the teacher. And so since they were born, she was the bigger twin. So my kids love to totally F with people. Yeah. And we'll be in an elevator. I don't know why they do this. And if your twins do this, and for anybody else that's watching, if your twins do this too, my kids love to tell everybody they're twins. They tell everybody. Nobody even asks them. They just tell people. And then they're like, no way, you guys are twins, because they don't even look like brother and sister. They don't even look like they're friends. They look like they come from 2 different planets. And yet they are clearly twins because I was there. So they play that game like, or do you think we're twins, or do you know we're twins? Nobody asked them once again. And then they're like, no, that's crazy. And then my daughter will be like, and guess who's older? They always guess, my poor son. And he's like, no, I'm the baby, and she's like, it's me. But her personality is 9 feet tall.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter how.
I love how twins love, like the one that's older loves to talk about that. Like it could be seconds, it could be minutes, and they're like, I'm older. It's like,
that's it.
But whatever.
But Allie, there's a whole trend in people not telling their children who's older.
Really?
Yeah. So that's another thing out there. If you haven't told your kids, I want to know why you didn't tell them. And I can't see the comments, sadly, because I would love to know what everybody is saying. But yeah, there's a whole new trend, because there was like this one study that showed that the twin that's older becomes like the dominant twin. And it's not a nature versus nurture. It's that we're telling them that they're older, so they have to act older. I don't really think that. I think that my baby A was always my dominant baby.
Yeah.
And so regardless of whether she was older or not, I knew in utero where she was at all times.
Yeah.
Like I could feel her. She was like a fighter. She's like a UFC champion. And then I'd be like, maybe I feel him. He feels like gas. He
Yeah.
feels like gas, and she feels like this tornado that's occurring in my womb. That's what that. And their personalities still match their personalities when they were in my belly.
Isn't that so cool?
It really is. It
love
really is. And instead of my son being like angry that he's the younger child, I swear, like, and this is Allie, where I know that I did something right with that kid. He said, well, ladies should go first.
Oh, that's darling.
Where I love him so much, my baby boy. He stopped kissing me for a while, goodbye in the morning, but now he's back to it. So life is good. I feel okay again. I'm not ready. I'm not ready for this. I can't handle it. I feel like they're going to be married in like 5 days. I feel like that's the next chapter of my life. Well, your next chapter is tomorrow's your appointment. And guys, if you want to follow Allie and see the little videos that hopefully she gets to post tomorrow, even the heartbeat, like anything we'll take. She's Allie Wella over on Instagram. Julie's going to put up a link to that. And then we're going to see you soon. But truthfully, regardless of people watching or not, I am really always here. So if you need anything, well, I don't know if you have my phone number. We'll get you my phone number and you could text me 24 hours a day, like no joke, even if you had the appointment tomorrow and like something concerns you or whatever. And truthfully, this really does go for the entire Twiniversity audience. I am hands down one of the most accessible people in the world. And everybody's like, oh, we don't want to bother you. You're not bothering me because people helped me when I was expecting, and it's the least that I could do is help other people. So I continue to give back. It makes me very, very happy. But I loved meeting you. I kept you a little bit over time. I'm sorry. Don't be mad at me.
That's fine.
Go back to the puppies. Go back to enjoying your day. And I can't wait to hear what happens tomorrow.
Awesome. Thank you so much. This was really fun.
Yay, Allie. Have a happy holiday if I don't speak to you. And I will see you after the new year.
Sounds good.
You got it, girl. Talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye.